Hey there, kiddos, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank, hoping that you are having a great day. And in today's video, I'm going to be sitting back in my very squeaky chair, relaxing and having a little conversation with all of you guys about the Palworld official card game. That's right. It's time for your uncle to weigh in his opinion on the newest TCG sensation that is sweeping the nation. And sensation is an important word because, yeah, there has been a lot of chatter online on YouTube, Reddit, wherever about this specific card game because it's making some moves financially. I'm not sure if you guys have seen yet, but there is a lot of interest, excitement, speculation, so to speak, about the first set of this game, Dawn of Palpagos, which is interesting, all things considered, for a brand new, untested TCG based on an IP that's less than 4 years old, I think, maybe. I don't know. When did the Palworld video game drop? But I digress. Rather than giving my opinion on the brand, I'm here today to give you guys my opinion on the card game itself. That's right. I had a chance today to sit down and play this game a bit, and I will be playing it a bit more tomorrow. Or today by the time you guys see this video. I don't know when you guys watch this. It could be weeks after I upload it, for all I know. I have given it a try. I have learned the rules, and I have some thoughts about it. But first, let's go over the basics of the game before I break down my opinions and what I think are the pros and cons of the game as it stands right now. So first off, this is a very simple back and forth life point based monster game where you are sending your pals into the open field, your base, to try and knock your opponent's health down to 0. You play your pals by using soul, which is a resource that you automatically gain every turn. You gain 2 soul a turn out of the soul deck. You use that soul, you tap it, much like land from Magic, in order to play your pals, which can have their own effects, but most importantly, have their own attack powers. Now, the attack power on the pals themselves do not directly translate to how much damage you're doing to your opponent. Instead, all the pals have a individual damage value. So some will have 1 damage and 400 health or whatever, right? So when a pal hits your opponent, they'll take damage. Or their pals, they can attack pals or structures directly and can only be blocked by opponent's pals. I should mention that as well. But when they hit your opponent, when they get through all their defenses, they perform a damage check. And a damage check is first started by your opponent taking the number of cards dictated by that damage check, whether it be 1, 2, 3, whatever, and milling them one by one from the top of their deck. And if they flip up a lucky pal card, the damage check is stopped right then and there. No damage occurs. But if they don't, then the number of cards they milled, the number of damage in the check, is how much life they lost. And life starts at 10, but can go higher. And there's another resource in the game, just called resources and food, I believe, which are also tracked on their own little side card. Pretty neat. And you can gain those resources through effects, and you can pay them for other effects. So all around, there's a lot of moving parts. Your pals, your structures, which are played like pals, weapons, which have their own costs associated with them, the resources of life, and all that jazz. But at the end of the day, it is a very simple and very easy to get into card game. And I'm going to count that as the first pro for the game. Palworld is very easy to get into. You can get the basics of it down just by really just by looking at the cards, honestly, and kind of feeling out what you're supposed to do. But if you can't figure it out just by looking at the cards, you'll be pleased to know that these trial decks, they come with rules. How awesome is that? I've mentioned this before. It is a common gripe with me on this channel how unfortunate it is when a card game's intro product does not have rules printed in the introductory product. So I'm always happy to point out when it does happen, just because it feels like it's such a rarity these days. I do firmly believe that every introductory deck or specialty intro box set or whatever should have rules telling new players how to play the game. I don't care how old your game is. Intro decks need rules, not a QR code to the online rules. Rules printed. With that out of the way, I can say that while the game is surprisingly easy to pick up and fairly simple, all things considered, there didn't really seem to be a whole lot of interaction. There's not like a stack. There are instant speed effects in this game. You can respond to what your opponent's doing. You can defend with your pals. You can activate effects from the hand, for instance. Cool stuff. But it's not a very complicated game. And it's, like I said, it's easy to pick up, easy to learn, and really fun. Really fun, even though it's kind of simple and definitely more mechanically thin currently. It did not seem, from the games I played, I should say, it did not seem mechanically complex. It definitely seemed to really lend itself well to the idea of weenie strategies, just playing a bunch of monsters and throwing them at your opponent until they're dead. So there's that. There's that to consider. Another bonus is the art looks good. The art is clearly professional, and it's not like what some other card games do, where it's just recycled art. And I was not sure where Bushiroad was going with this. Bushiroad has card games that do just use recycled art. Weiss Schwarz does that a lot. And then it also has card games that use entirely new art assets. Vanguard, for instance, for the most part, has new assets for all of its cards. I wasn't sure where Palworld was going to be, in which of those categories it was going to be, but I'm happy to say that it is in the new art for the card game line, and that's all well and good. The other thing is, from a printing perspective, from a pack opening perspective, it's a Bushiroad box, so there's not a whole lot of cards in the box. But there does appear to be a pretty set pull rate from my own one box opening, plus watching a bunch of other box openings online. It does feel like there's a pretty regular chance at pulling certain kinds of rarities in a set amount of boxes. So that's always nice. It makes the box opening experience nice. It makes pulling rarer cards exciting. And it definitely makes the game feel like it's designed to be more collectible than scarce, which also ties into my next point of cheapness. Out the gate, I should be very careful with my wording here. As intended, Palworld is much like other Bushiroad games, where it's intended to be very cheap, with a box price of around between $45 to $60. You'll note, however, that I said intended, as intended, because while $50-ish is right around where you should expect to find boxes if all was right in the world and Palworld was being treated like any other Bushiroad card game, $50 is not currently where Palworld boxes are sitting at, because we're going to dive into the cons now. The first con, really, is that it's been scooped up. It's been speculated to hell. It's been scalped to death. Palworld is the first in quite a bit, honestly. It's the first real example in a while of a card game that has just been scalped to hell right out the gate. Now, keep in mind, this game was sitting at $50-ish pre-ordering for a while. Months, even. I think that we knew about this card game coming from the beginning of the year. And I've known about it for a bit. And up to like last week, even, I was not at all concerned about whether or not I'd be able to get some, because it's a Bushiroad game. I kind of went with the knowledge that it would be cheap and affordable forever, because that's what a lot of them are until the out-of-print cycling happens, right? But no, it's been scooped up and it's been speculated to hell. And right now, at least as the posting of this video, booster boxes are around the $150-ish range, which is, in case you can't tell, roughly 3 times the regular price, which is nuts, all things considered. This game has been hit by a speculative frenzy, which is unfortunate because, in my opinion, and basing it off not just my personal experience, but what I'm seeing online, it looks like this game's being hit by a speculative frenzy before a solid metagame has even really materialized for Palworld, and before a dedicated player base can really find their footing with the game, which is unfortunate Because with a game like Pokemon, which has a very established, very strong player base that can know well in advance of a set's release whether or not they're interested in it because, well, they like Pokemon, they might like new mechanics or whatever from that set, they might want to try it. There are plenty of people who were thinking about getting into Palworld, thinking about trying it out, thinking of giving it a shot, who now won't because it's 3 times what the original price is, regardless of what they might have thought about it. If there's a hindrance to access, if there's a barrier to play, they will be less likely to try it, especially if you consider the price tags. 150 for a box for any Bushiroad game is wild at release, especially when you consider there's not a lot of cards in those boxes. You know, that's damn near what Pokemon boxes are for some sets, right? And Pokemon boxes have way more in them. And the other thing I think is the other part of why $150 for a Bushiroad box is crazy is because those price tags, a high price tag like that, 100 plus for a Bushiroad box, is something, especially for Weiss Schwarz, I should say. Weiss Schwarz is Bushiroad, right? I'm not fucking myself up there, right? Weiss Schwarz is Bushiroad, right? I'm 99% sure it is, but I could be wrong. Anyway, when it comes to things like that, like Weiss Schwarz, they do get price increases, crazy price increases. Some Weiss Schwarz boxes rise to nuts levels, right? But it's usually years later, well after the printing is done. The reason it takes years for some of that stuff to happen is because of something that I don't think a lot of these speculators are aware of. And that is Bushiroad is very aggressive when it comes to making sure that their games are actually playable. As of the recording of this video, not only is the first set basically unobtainable everywhere, but it looks like the second set has also been pre-ordered to hell, and all of the online web stores that would have it have taken it down because either it's sold out or they want to wait and see what the new price tag is going to be. So that's the first 2 sets of the game basically unavailable, which means that people who might have been interested in it are less likely to do so at the raised price tags. Not completely unlikely. I should mention, if someone's interested enough in the new card game, obviously they're going to give it a shot regardless of the new price tag if they have the money to spend, right? That's just how it is. But I think a lot of these people who are scalping it and making quick bucks in the short term, I worry that some of them might be the kind to diamond hands this, you know? They see it quickly rise and they think it's going to rise even higher, perhaps. And that could happen. Or Bushiroad could do what it's done for years now, honestly. You see, Bushiroad as a company does do limited printings. They do, oftentimes, especially for a lot of their less popular sets, do one wave, throw it out the door, and that's it. That's all there is. And a part of why that happens is because some sets just don't sell as well. But when the chips are down, okay? When the chips are down and things are unavailable and players and collectors or whatever can't get a brand new set out the gate, Bushiroad has in the past shown that it is very, very willing to add new wave after new wave to the pipeline until demand has been met. We've seen this with Weiss Schwarz products, for instance. I think the one Overlord set had a really large second wave that had people buzzing for a bit, if I recall correctly. But yeah, they do like to meet demand. They do like to make their games playable. And that's because they understand that playability is the key to longevity. And when scarcity increases, Bushiroad likes to try and rise to meet demands. Now, do I think that print wave is going to come anytime soon? Unlikely. It does seem like what they have set aside has been completely consumed, and it might take a bit for more Palworld Palpagos boxes to hit the market. But I do believe that they will come, and they will come like a tidal wave, dragging that price down to the $50 and $60 price range. I could be wrong, but that is what I firmly believe, in my opinion. Ultimately, I do have a lot of confidence that a huge new wave of them will come to market. I just hope that it comes before this speculative frenzy kills any potential player interest in the game, which is something when Lorcana first released, and this is important because Lorcana saw this too. Okay, when Lorcana first came out, there was a bit of a worry on my end, and part of why I was less interested in holding it long term at the time was because Lorcana did not look like something that was player friendly at the time. For a brief 2 to 3 month period, Lorcana first chapter was completely unattainable. Yes, we knew that Ravensburger was gonna print it into the ground, right? We knew that coming. But I had a very real fear that by the time Ravensburger got around to printing more of it, the speculation would kill the interest. And I have that same fear here, honestly. For different reasons, though. Lorcana is based on a much better known IP. I was just worried that by the time more of it came to market, there would be just a handful of people interested in trying the actual game out versus collecting some like Peter Pan cards or something for their personal collection, right? Whereas here, I think it's a similar but different worry, and that is the Palworld brand. It's a newer brand. It's contentious. It's got, a rough history already with lawsuits and such that I'm not going to go into. And I do have a concern that by the time more of it comes to market, the hype will have died down and people will have moved on to something else. Which is unfortunate because, as I said earlier, this is a pretty fun game, all things considered, for how simple it is and how easy it is to pick up. It's honestly pretty easy, good fun. So, those are my overall opinions. I think it's a fun game. I just think it's unfortunate that people have decided to heavily speculate on and invest in something that doesn't even have its solid footing yet. It's not even really found its identity as a card game or its core audience yet, which I think is unfortunate. And more of it's coming. I have no doubt about that. I just worry about how long it'll take and what damage will be done to the game while we wait. So, overall, good fun. If you can get a box for $50, hell yeah. If you pay $150 for a box, why? Why would you do that? Anyway, that's all I got for you kiddos today. Please like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment down below whether you agree with me or disagree with me. And as always, check out the TCG player link, eBay, Patreon, and the Discord link. Yeah, those are all in the description below. Thanks again for watching. Talk to you guys next time. Ciao.